Okay. Today we're going to start by Amar Mar. It's Tzadik Aleph, right? 91? 91A. It's about 7 lines from the top. Okay. We're learning about the Nisachim. First of all, we thank Hashem. We have every day.
Amen.
Discuss what we're learning. We should have the Mesa Migdash immediately. Okay. What happened in the previous Gemara is that the Gemara quoted a Brisa.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ramesha.
Good morning, Moshe.
Gemara quoted a Brisa in the Parsha of that discusses the pasuk in the Parsha of the Nesachim, which is in Parsha Shlach. After they sinned with the spies, they came back with the bad report. And Hashem tells them, when you go into Eretz Yisrael, then you're going to give flour, oil, and wine together with every carbon. And this psukim over there discuss which karbanos yes, which karbanos no. And the Brisa elaborates on that. So the pasuk says, "Vasisim isha lashem oila izevach." You will make a fire offering to Hashem of a burnt offering or a slaughter, izevach. L'fali neder elendava for a vow or a voluntary offering. Oig ma'adechem for your festivals. Lasis reich nichech laHashem, to do a sweet smell for Hashem from the cattle or from the tzayin, min habakar min hatzayin. And then it says that the person will bring flour of an isaron mixed with a revi'ah sehin of oil. And then for the ram, he'll bring 2 isaron and 1/3 of a hin. And for ben bakar, he'll bring 3 isaron with a half a hin. Okay. So in the Brisa, we said that why do we need all of these words, all of these types of sacrifices? So we said that the pasuk of Oy Zevach, the words that said Oy Zevach, Oyla excluded a mincha. Oy Zevach was including a taida. Including a taida. So Amar Mar, taida minayin. How do we know that that for a carbon taida, the master taught? That means we learned in the Brisa. Master taught that the taida requires the nesachim. Yeah, the nesachim are the flour, oil, and wine that come along with the carbon. Talmud Laimar oy zevach. It says or a zevach. Or a slaughtering. Okay. Where it says to taida lav zevachu. Why do we need the extra limud here? Oy zevach or. We're learning from the or. Why do you need to do that? The taida is regular carbon. It's slaughtered. It's like a shlama. So we already know that you have to bring the same things that you have to bring for a shlama. Where it says yitzchich. No, it's necessary. So, could have entered your mind to say, since you have to bring bread anyway for the taida, I spoke this out when we learned this Gemara yesterday. Since you have to bring anyway for the taida, so I could have thought that satisfies the concept of bringing the nesachim, because a taida, which is a shlamim offering plus 40 loaves of bread, 30 chalas and 30 matzahs and 10 chalas. So I could have thought that you already satisfied that. So we need the pasuk to include it back in. Where it says, what about the El Nazir, the ram of the Nazir in his purification? The Nazir has to bring also 2 types of breads. So it says, and he also has to bring the nesachim. So why do I need a special limit by a toida to tell me that he has to? I could have thought that the breads that come along would have satisfied the nesachim. I didn't say that by the riyam of the nazir. Over there you only have two. Here you have four. You have four types. Could have thought that maybe the four types is what satisfies the nesachim. So Kamash Malan comes to tell me that you still have to bring nesachim for a korban taida. Now the Gemara says, "V'lichtev rachmana lefalei neder oy lenedava v'loy boy oyla." In the pasuk it says that you'll do a Vasisim isha Hashem, you'll do a fire offering for Hashem, oyla, a burnt offering, oy zevach, or a slaughtering, which we said was a shlamim, and now we said it's including also a taita. Lefalei neder oy benedava, to for a vow or for a donation. So the Gemara is asking that from the neder nadav I could have learned everything, and I don't need the word oyla. The Gemara says because 1 second, the oyla back in the brisa, oyla was coming to exclude a mincha, a burnt offering, not a mincha. The Gemara is asking now; it's not spelling it out, but the Gemara is asking that not a mincha, that you don't have to bring flour, oil, and wine together with a offering of flour and oil. You don't have to bring another one of flour and oil. So the Gemara says, well, how do I know that you don't have to bring a flour and oil together with, in addition to a flour and oil? It says because the pasuk says oyla.
Third shelf.
Because it says oyla, a burnt offering. You only have to bring it for a burnt offering. The Gemara is asking now that I don't need the burnt offering. I don't need the oyla to tell me that. Anytime it says zevach already. It says a slaughtering. And I know that flour is not slaughtered. So, okay. So, ilay kas rachmana oyla. Gemara explains. If it didn't say oyla, what are you looking for? No, I'll tell you where it is.
Yeah, I'll also.
On the second part.
In Hebrew? English.
Can't find the second one.
It's in somebody's stender.
No, maybe inside. Both the two values.
Somebody's stender. I saw it downstairs.
Okay, take it out. Put it on the shelf.
So ilay kas rachmana oyla hava mina vasisim yisel Hashem klal. Lefali neder oyla nedavis prat. L'reich nechaya chazer klal. I could have thought that what we're dealing here is with the klal prat klal, and the klal prat klal is going to include things that are that we didn't want, that's not actually included, as we'll see in a moment. We had exceptions to the rule. So klal prat klal, you have to done el kana prat. How would I have done this? I would have said like this. It says you have to bring a burnt offering to Hashem. That's a generalization. The detail is vows and donations. And what's the second generalization? Sweet smell for Hashem. Includes everything. So the way that works is a klal prat klal is what I do is I say that I really include everything because I have two generalizations. Why do I have a specific? I'm including everything that's similar to the specific. That's how it works. Ma prat mefurish davar she'ein balachet. Just like the specific is something that doesn't come because of sin. Why? Because it's a donation or a vow. Avkol she'ein balachet. So to anything that doesn't come because of sin. And that would exclude a sin offering, which doesn't fit into those details. There's a sin offering and a guilt offering; they come because of a sin. However, what would have changed would be that avi bechar u'maiser u'pesach shein bal alachet. It would have ended up including the firstborn animal, the tithe, and the meiser, which doesn't come because of a sin, and it would have been included. And we learned in the Mishnah already that what's excluded from the Nesachim, Bechar, Meiser, Pesach, Chatas, and Asham. So you would have excluded the Chatas and Asham, which is good, but you would have ended up including the Bechar, the Meiser, and the Pesach. So Talmud Laimer Oyla, therefore it tells me an Oyla, and I need things that are similar to an Oyla, and which excludes the Bechar, the Meiser, and the Pesach. It needs to be absolutely donated like an Oyla, but not Bechar, Meiser, and Pesach, which have a slight obligation to them. Okay.
Order and the Nazir. The other two are more common.
We have a pasuk. Pasuk has a lot of words in it. Each word in that pasuk is coming to teach me what's included, what's excluded. One of the words in the pasuk included a taida. Where we know the Nazir from, we didn't say over here, but it turns out that we know it from the parsha of Nazir. In Nazir, it says it. We also know that we're excluding the chatas and asham, right? And we're excluding that from the klal prat, the generalization specific. Now we're looking for why do we exclude also the bechar, the meiser, and the pesach? So we're saying the word oila does that for us. So hashta the ksiv oila. So klal prat ma marbespe. Usually when you have a klal prat, of course you're excluding. But what are you including? It's supposed to include everything that's similar to the details. But it seems like we have all the details specified. So what else gets included because of this? Very interesting. It's coming to include things that we never would have thought of should be included in this. If you have a sacrifice that's a female sacrifice that it ends up having an offspring before it's slaughtered, so the offspring is also sacrificed. It's also sacrificed, and so in that you have to bring the nesachim for that sacrifice. The same is tmurasan. If you exchange one sacrifice for another, that means you have an animal, and you say that's supposed to be a karban. You say I'm going to bring a different animal instead in place of this called tmura, which is really a prohibition, but nevertheless you still have to bring it. And that what we're learning now is that besides bringing it, you also have to bring the nesachim together with it. V'oila haba min ha'maisros, and if you have an oila that's being brought because of things that were extra, remember we learned about Kates HaMizbeach, the dessert, we learned that yesterday, that keeps the Mizbeach occupied. V'asham shenitik l'riyah, and if there's an asham that was meant to get a mum, and then you exchange that asham for something else, for you after it gets a mum, then you use that money to bring an oila. So that oila is also going to require a nesachim. Or if there was a sacrifice that was brought shalei lishman, which we said that it's in most cases, besides for a chatas and a pesach, it's always going to be a kosher sacrifice. Just the owners have to bring another one. So nevertheless, the owners have to bring another one. But for the first one, which didn't satisfy their obligation, they also have to bring the nesachim. Okay, that was our answer. That was our answer. What do we including from the klal prat? We listed about 5 things here: blood iskadshim, tamura, oila ba min ha'maisros, asham shenitik l'riyah, and shlei lishman. Okay. Now we had before. It says min ha'bakar and min ha'tzayin, from the cattle or from the sheep, or from the flock. So why do we need the word or? We had a discussion between Reb Yeshia and Reb Yonasan. Reb Yeshia says that it's coming to teach me that not an oila sa'oif, not a bird, right? And then Reb Yonasan said it's coming to tell me that I could have thought that you only have to bring the nesachim if you have 2 animals together. It says mina bakar mina tzayin. I could not that you have to bring this up. Could have thought that if you pledge an oila, you have to actually bring 2 animals. You have to bring a bakar and tzayin. Therefore, our pasuk divides it up by us. It says bakar oit tzayin. Because back in Sefer Vayikra, it said mina bakar umina tzayin. And the Gemara asked, but Rabbi Yonasan usually says that you never say that when it says and, it means both. We had a special explanation for that. So now the Gemara says, Hashdamar oile drasha, whatever the case is, I have oi, the word oi, or, is coming to teach us something. So for Rabbi Yonasan, it was coming to divide it up, one or the other. So what about lefali neder oile nedava? Lama li lechalkam. Let's see that talent. Yeah. Lefali neder oile nedava. I have other ors. We're going to go through all the ors in this pasuk. I have another time it says or. What is that coming to teach me? I needed to divide it. So it says yitzchich. Yes. I could have thought that when do you have to bring nesachim? Only if you have two, it's not an obligation, but two types of voluntary offerings. One is where you say, I'm accepting upon myself to bring a sacrifice. And also you say, this animal is the sacrifice. You have to have both types of animals in order to bring the nesachim, because it says neder and nedava. Neder is harei alai, right? One of them is harei alai, one's harei zu. So Kamash Malan, it's coming to teach us the Isi Neder L'Chudeli by Nesachim, the Isi Neder L'Chudeli L'Isi Nesachim. That it doesn't matter. You bring Nesachim, the flour, oil, and wine, even if you only bring one of these types. It says, Honey, Chala Rabbi Yeshia. Rabbi Yeshia is the one that always says that I would have thought that you need both until it tells me to divide it up. So therefore, in this case, I have an oi, which means or, to tell me that it's either or, not both. That makes sense for Rabbi Yeshia. But Rabbi Yonasan that says that whenever it says and, it always means or, either or. So even if it would have said linadava, neder unadava, I would have also thought that it's either or. So why do I need the word oy according to Rabbi Yonasan? I could have entered your mind to say I see neder l'chadeli by nesachim. I see neder l'chadeli by nesachim. I see neder unadava tiske ben nesachim dechad. I could have thought, yeah, you're right. 1 second.
Well, you're not on camera. They need to move something. You're not on camera. Wait till the film starts rolling. Will gets paid by the every question asked. It's in his contract. True. Yeah, sure. Arrow shirts. Sponsors.
Could be just one.
Tell me, ask me what are you asking? Tell me. It's the same thing. One's Hebrew, one's English. Libation is English.
So it's wine.
Well, it's so yeah. We put into that category. Libation means to pour, right? But so wine would go into that category. But we also mix in. We say the oil is also a libation because it's poured into the flour. It's not poured on the altar. It's poured into the flour. We call that also in the Sachem libation. And then we throw into that the flour also because it goes together with the rest of it. So the flour also goes under that. It's all one category that contains those three items: flour, oil, and wine. So. So here I would have thought that if Rabbi Yonasan would understand that you have to bring the sachem even if you bring one animal. However, if you bring two animals, he would have thought that you only have to bring one nesachim for both of them. So like two people squeezing into the mikveh with one payment, with the return side, you'd be able to get both animals in with one nesachim, right?
Disclaimer that we're not endorsing that.
So, Just given Nesachim Dechad, I could have thought they'd get away with one payment. It's not one payment, right? It's one libations for two sacrifices, right? I could have thought that if you bring both, so Kamashman, that's why it says or to tell me that no, even if you bring two, you still have to bring for each one. The word or tells me that that doesn't work. I'll give you a better example. There's sometimes when you daven one tefillah right after another. Usually you say Aleinu at the end of a tefillah. Say Aleinu. You daven Shachris and then you daven Musaf. You don't say Aleinu after Shachris and then Aleinu after Musaf. Because you did them both together. You say one Aleinu at the end. And you do the same thing if you would daven Mincha and Meirav, if it would be back to back, you wouldn't have to say Aleinu. But or if you would do Musaf and Mincha together like that. Shachris and Mincha. So you can't, because Shachris and Mincha has a half-hour gap in the middle where you can't daven either one. So
what if you miss Shachrit and you're doing Mincha twice?
Exactly. You do Mincha twice, you say one Aleinu. Say one Aleinu. Very good. That's a good example, yeah. So I could have thought there was such a type of concept. Okay. Why does it have to say or? We're talking about all the times it says or. Or for holiday sacrifices. Why does it need to say that? Could have meant to your mind to say, could have thought the oila would come beneder. That was the first one. The zebach would come benedava. Inam yepcha, or you maybe do the opposite. But let's say I would do an oila burnt offering and a peace offering. Both of them would be with the designation of the animal, or both of them would be as an acceptance on the person, hare alai or hare zu. Shem neder echad or shem nedava achasi. They could have thought that maybe, even though they're two different types of sacrifices, but because the way that you donated it is the same, I could have thought that will go under the same category and we'll get the same nesachim, just one nesachim for both. So Kamash Malan Mayadechem says, or for the holiday sacrifice, the extra word is teaching me that you have to bring an individual nesachim for each one. We're going to do that again once. Now, the pasuk is going on. We were reading before pasuk 3, pasuk Gimel. Now we're going to pasuk Ches. Ben bakar oila oizevach. A person will bring a ben bakar cattle, or either as a oila or as a shlamim. He's going to lefali neder or shlamim. It actually spells that out. La Hashem. So he's going to have to bring a certain amount of flour and oil. So we have the word oy a second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. We have a lot of the word oy. I should clarify. It's not oy as in like oy vey. It's oy as in o, not as in o in English, but o as in the English word or, right? Either or, right? So let's see. Why do I need all of those? That the or oila or a shlamim? It's it's necessary. I could have entered your mind to say, I could have thought that if you bring an oila and a shlamim beneder, inami oila v'shlamim benedava, then you bring this nesachim. Aval hechad kamaisi shtei oilas, chada beneder v'chada benedava, inami shtei shlamim, echad beneder v'echad benedava, im hashem shlamim achasi, shtei oila achasi. Tisklei nesachim dechat, kamashlan. It's very interesting. The last one we thought that maybe if I bring an oila and a shlamim under the same category of donation, either because he said hare alaya or hare zu, even though they're different sacrifices, but the way you pledged them was the same, could have thought that one nesachim would satisfy both. He said the oib mayadechem. Now we go the other way. Now we say that if, I don't care how you pledged it, but if the sacrifice was the same, an oila, you brought two oilas. One you pledged like this, you said this is an oila. The other one you said I'm accepting upon myself an oila. Two different ways of pledging. So, or by Ishlamim, or the donation, you pledge them different way, or by the Shlamim, you pledge them different ways. I could have thought that you only have to bring one nesachim because the Shlamim goes under one category, or the oila is one category. Kamash Malan, they have to bring separate nesachim for each one. Yeah.
So does this mean today that tithing and tzedakah are two different things because of your intention? Are you supposed to give both?
You are supposed to give both, but it's not directly coming from this. That may have a different source. This is, we're talking about just what you have to bring together along with the sacrifices that you're bringing. The accessory things that come along with the sacrifice. And there's something else. There's a concept. There's a concept of tzedakah that's true, that is separate. It's not directly associated with this. Okay, lefali neder shlamim lamali. Why do I need that oy? There's another oy, which is a vow or a shlamim. Well, sal kadai tachamina hani milech the ma'aser shtei oilas. It could have entered your mind to say that if you're going to bring two oilas, chada b'neder v'chada b'nedava, one is a vow and one is a donation. Inami shtei shlamim. Or else two peace offerings. That's when you have to bring two. But now here's the last way that we're going to get away with this type of thing. What we do now is we say that before we thought the salkadaitach, what I would have thought was I would have thought, if not for this pasuk. What we did, we had two options. We had two ways of dividing up sacrifices. One way is there's an oila sacrifice, there's a shlamim sacrifice, a burnt offering or a peace offering. That's one division. Other division is the way it was donated. You could say harei alai, or you could say harei zu. I'm accepting upon myself, or I'm designating this animal. Two ways of donating. You say I'm giving this, or you say I pledge to give something like that or something. Right? That's either accept on yourself or, but those are two ways. And each one of those, we said that if you were going to have two of the same, maybe you could get away with one nesacha. Now, what we're doing is we're putting both of those together. We're saying, let's say you're bringing two oilas, and both of them you pledged with a neder, or both of them you pledged with a nedava, as a nedava, or two shlamim, both of them you said harei zu. So then for sure you should get away. They're all totally under one category. Both the type of sacrifice plus the way you pledged it, which you should be. So really only one nesachim would be required. So Kamashman comes to tell me that you have to bring two nesachim.
The nesachim were connected to the carbon or to the pledge?
That's what we thought, that maybe they were. Okay, now we're saying that either way, I'm doing both of them.
No, but we give a source that a pledge comes with a nesachim.
No. I could have thought that maybe
We know that nesachim come with a carbon. Where does nesachim come with a pledge?
no, but what it's talking about is there's two ways of dividing up the korbanos. Either they can divide it by type of sacrifice, how it's brought and how it's eaten, when oila or shlamim, or you can divide it up by the way you pledged it. Did you pledge it as a harei zu? Did you pledge it as a harei alai? There's a difference in halacha with that. If you're responsible for it, harei zu, you're not responsible for it. Say I'm going to give this, then if this gets lost, right. So I pledge that. I'm sorry, it doesn't exist anymore. So, right? I don't have to give anything. I'm exempt.
Are those two considered vows?
Yeah.
Pledges, vows?
And a pledge is I'm accepting on myself to give 100, right? So then if I pull out $100, I say I pledge this bill to, this. So then let's say someone runs along and steals it, and like as I'm holding it here. So then I said, well, I wanted to give it to you, but someone just took it. So, I guess your loss. But if I pledge that $100 and I'm going to give $100 and I don't show you the bill, pledge, and then someone comes and steals $100 from me, I say, well, it doesn't mean he stole that $100. You pledged $100, you still have to give, right? That's the difference. Neder and nedava. That's a real lie. I'm accepting on myself. So those are two ways of donating a sacrifice. So I could have thought that the way that you divide up, do you have to bring one nesachim or two nesachim, depends on how were the sacrifice pledged the same or not. If they were pledged the same, then we different ways of categorizing. We'd categorize it as one sacrifice. It's one for regarding the Sachem. Excuse me. So now we say that we don't do that.
No, I'm just thinking, the marriage at the way Dr. Kadesh's, and we add in the word leaf, because without leaf, you would just somehow be made sanctified, doesn't, you're, I don't know.
There's another problem with that.
Another problem.
That is that you may be a shliach from
Somebody
someone else. And you say, Hariyat Mikudeshes to who? Well, there was a guy that sent me. He wasn't able to make it to his own wedding, but he sent me to do the marriage.
Rocky relationship right from the start.
Off to a great start.
Rabbi Yeshia, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yeshia, Hai min abaka min atzain lamali. Now, Rabbi Yeshia, we have to go back and look at this again, because Rabbi Yeshia, he needs the or. Rabbi Yeshia, he needs the or. We said before that this was Anichal Rabbi Yeshia, that needs the or to divide. But because if that, without dividing it, without saying or, he would think that it's both together. Now we use that for lefali neder lenedava. We already said that you don't have to do both neder and nedava. Now we're asking for Rabbi Yeshua, what about bakar imenatzayin? We have from the cattle and from the flock. What does he need that or for? Salam alaikum. So salkadai tachamina hani mili. I would say that if that's only if you bring two types. But if you bring one type, tiskale ben esachim dechad. If you bring, if you would bring one type, two sacrifices, you would only have to bring one nesachim. Kamash malan, that Kamash malan comes to tell me that even for one, even if you bring one type, you still have to bring nesachim. Now it says kacha tasa le'echad lamali. Why does it have to say kacha tasa le'echad? Now this here is in kacha yasa l'shara echad. 12. Kamispar, and that was 11. Kacha yasa l'shara echad, 11. 12, it says kamispar shetasa kacha tasa le'echad kamisparim. The way that you do it, so you should do for each one. Corresponding to the number of sacrifices, you should offer the appropriate number for each one. So it says each one is going to get an nesachim. So, could have thought that that's only. When did we say that you have to bring two? That's only if you weren't bringing them together. But if you bring them together, I could have thought that maybe you only have to bring one nesachim. So Kamash Malan tell us that even if you bring them together, you only bring one. Even if you bring them together, you bring a nesachim each one. Okay. Now we say like this. We have exceptions to the rule that where you don't bring nesachim. Those exceptions are for a chatas and a nasham, and for a bechar, meiser, and pesach, and something else. You don't bring the nesachim for those sacrifices. Now, those included those exceptions were the chatas and the asham. Now we have an exception to the exception, that there are certain chatas where you do have to bring, and that's the chatas of the mitzayra. Ela shachatase shel mitzayra va'ashamai, and his guilt offering. This is an exception to the exception, which puts it back into the general category. It does require tar nesachim. Gemara says, "Minani mili." How do we know this? Tana Rabbanos Tana and Brisa. Shleishes reinim seilas mincha. We're going to this week's parsha, where it says that the mitzayra has to bring three sacrifices: a chatas, an asham, and an oila. And then it says, and he has to bring an isaran of flour for each one. It's a shleishes reinim seilas mincha. The mincha ba mazevach hakas medaber. When it says mincha, we're talking about why does he have to bring three israinim, three of these measurements of flour? Because he's bringing three sacrifices. And each sacrifice requires the nesachim that go along with it. So it says, how do you know that's what the pasuk is talking about? Maybe the pasuk is requiring you to bring for the mitzvah. He has to bring independent minchas. It's not because of the sacrifice; it's just independent. So the Gemara says for that. So the pasuk says that the kohen will bring up the burnt offering and the meal offering. Oh, so when we're talking about the mincha, it looks like we're talking about an oila that's associated with the mincha. And so we're talking about the mincha. Mincha means the flour offering that goes together with the nesachim, right? Talking about the nesachim of a karban, not an independent offering. Very good. We're talking about the accessory offerings that come together with an animal offering. Still don't know if you're going to require nesachim. Now here, the Gemara is referring to, but what about the wine? You require wine. So Yayim Lav. Talmud Laimar, the pasuk says, Yayin lenesach reviyasin tasel oila zevach lekevas echad. We go back to our parsha. You see, not off from this week's parsha. We go back to the parsha in Shlach. Yayin takal lenesach. Yayin, I'm sorry. Yayin lenesach. This is Yayin lenesach. Shlishas hin. No, Yayin lenesach reviyasin. Pasuk 5. Pasuk hey. And we learned from that. We have to bring wine that's for pouring, for the libations, and for the oila, for the zebach, for the kevas echad. Oila, when it says oila, the burnt offering, this is talking about oila smitzayra. Zebach, zuchatas mitzayra. Oila zebach, when it says or the chatas, zuasha mitzayra. Okay, so we know we have to bring wine for the mitzayra's sacrifice as well, besides for the flour.
That's the wine that they pour in the cup.
Yeah.
No, because the mincha they're throwing into the fire.
Right, exactly. Typically, tabayo mizebach. Why don't we get the oila and the the chatas and the asham to just go together with the word zebach? Why do we need the word oy to teach me that? Amar ma chatas v'asham minayin, because by the nazir has to bring a chatas and he has to bring an asham. And we asked, how do we know that he has to? That if he throws the hair, he can throw the hair. He's supposed to throw the hair under the shlamim, right? It says, how do we know that if he throws it under the chatas of the asham, that also works? Talmud Lemer zevach. It says the word zevach. Now zevach is including a chatas and an asham. Zevach means sacrifice, a slaughtering. So it's including both animals. So why over here did zevach not include both animals? I needed a separate word for each one by the Mitzayra. My answer is, over there, both of them were doing the same function. Both of them were allowing the Nazir to become purified, to now become, to either recount or to do his, to go to a cemetery and drink wine. But over here, where I need an asham, is coming to allow him, the asham of the mitzvah is coming to allow him to enter into the camp. The chatas is coming as an atonement. The sin offering is coming as an atonement for one of the 7 types of sins that makes a person a mitzvah, lashon hara or gaifa or whatever, all of those things. Okay.
So these 3 cauldrons were all outside of the base of Mikdash?
Cauldrons?
In other words, the pots that were boiling on the fire.
No, they were done in the Ezra's Nashim.
The restaurant.
Yeah.
We never mentioned them before.
Right. No, we weren't talking about the Nazir's sin. We actually didn't mention the Nazir's sin yet. We're mentioning but by the Nazir we were just saying that the both offerings were allowing them to come back into the camp and to eat, and they were machsher. They were allowing him to. They were machsher b'yayin, allowing him to drink wine or allowing him to come to the to come into a cemetery. However, by the Mitzayra, it has two functions. One of the sacrifices allows him to come into the camp. The other sacrifice allows him. The other sacrifice is an atonement for the reason why he became a Mitzayra in the first place. By the Nazir, we didn't mention that it's because of a sin or something. There's an opinion that, but that's not being mentioned there. Now, Zevach Zuchatas Mitzayra. We said in the pasuk that the Zevach, it says that the pasuk Zevach, that's coming to include the Chatas Mitzayra has to bring the Nesachim. Maybe it's talking about the Chatas and Ashim of Nazir, which it turns out that we know that the Chatas and the Ashim of a Nazir do require the Nesachim. It says Leisal Kadaitach. The Tanya min Chasam ben Eskayim by Lasayu b'Shlama v'Akasav Medaber. We're talking about the Nazir. It says his meal offering and his libations. We're talking about his elevation offering, his oila, and his shlamim. That's what it's talking about. Maybe the chatas also requires it. It says the ram he does as a shlamim. Ayil b'chlal haya. We already knew that an ayil was a ram was already going to bring the nesachim. Lama yatsa. Why by the el nazir? Sorry, not by the Chatas Nashim of a Nazir don't require it. The El Nazir requires. The Riyam of the Nazir requires the Nesachim. So why do we have to specify it here? It's a regular Shlamim. This is Lahakish Alav. It's coming to teach me something in comparison to the Ayel. Ma Ayel Miyuchad. Just like the Ayel is unique. Bab Neder and Dava, which comes typically as a donation. Afkol Bab Neder and Dava. Also anything that comes as a Neder and a Dava. As a donation is going to require the Nesachim. Oila, zu Oilas Mitzayra. The Oila is referring to the Oilas Mitzayra. This is the third of the sacrifices of the Mitzayra. The Gemara asks, maybe it's talking about the Oila that a Yeledis, a woman that gave birth, she has to bring the Nesachim together. Amar Abaya, Oila Yeledis Misefer the Krai. I already know the Oila of a woman. The Tanya Reb Nas Naim Lakeves Oilas Yeledis. When it says the word lakeves to the lamb, it already includes the woman that gave birth. When it says in the pasuk echad, zeh achad shel meiser. This is a very interesting case. If a person was doing his meiser and he counted, the way you do meiser on the animal is that you let it walk through the fence. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When you get to 9. Instead of saying 9, you said 10, like you miscounted, and you said 10. And when you get to 10, you say 9. And when you get to 11, you say 10. Any of those mistakes are all considered sacrifices. The 9th gets included, the 10th is, of course, and the 11th could also be considered. So look at this. We learned already that Meiser doesn't get Nesachim. But that's only the number 10 of the Meiser. What about the number 11 of Meiser? That does get Nesachim, because the number 11 of Meiser is brought as a Shlamim. It has to be brought as a sacrifice, because you had a certain designation there. If you called the 11th one, you called it, they hit it up with a stick. They said 10, even though that was the 11th. So that's going to be Shlematzinullah b'cholatershi tafel chamer. It turns out that over here you have a secondary sacrifice more strict than the original. The original, with the 10th one, doesn't have nesachim, but the 11th one does have the nesachim. Rabbi says, what requires 3 inclusions? I have over here 3 inclusions. I have Oila Zebach. 3 different three inclusions. He said, you're asking maybe it should be this, maybe it should be that. Rava says, drop all of that. I need something that's going to match the 3. And the Mitzayra matches the 3 because he has 3 sacrifices. So that is a much more perfect match for 3 inclusions. When you have one person that requires 3 sacrifices, that would be the 3 inclusions. So that fits better. Let's stop over here. But we're up to the aisle.
It's just getting good. Oh.
So as it's applied to today,
Dallas.
Yeah.
if I'm
Have a good
looking,
day, everyone.
this is the right part. Are we supposed to get a separate,
Thank you. Have a good day.
Good day.
Wait a whole year
separate
for that.
Misa and separate,
Same time, same channel.
Tzedakah?